Everybody, it's Pixelated Pat and I'm back with another episode of our Pokemon Gaia Hardcore Nuzlocke. Today in the agenda we'll be taking on Victory Road as well as our final rival battle. You'll probably notice that once again I left Infernape out of the lineup, and that's because it's a bit of a tradition for me to take on Victory Road without my starter. I feel like if I can make it through Victory Road without having my starter to rely on for the amazing power and coverage that she has, then it'll prepare me mentally and physically for the trials ahead when we face the Elite Four. Then I feel like it's a good move too because it'll keep her safe from harm before we take them on. After all, aside from my Fire Gold Hardcore Nuzlocke when I left Typhlosion out of the lineup for the Pokemon League because it just made more sense to leave him out, there's no way I'd take on the league without my started Pokemon. Not only that, it'll give me a chance to give some more screen time to any of the Pokemon who you won't be seeing on the final team. After all, with nearly a full box of Pokemon to choose from, it's only natural that a lot of them aren't going to make the cut, so at least it'll give me a chance to send any non-final team Pokemon from the roster out with a bang. That being said, here's one of our last encounters for the run, so say hello to Sonia the Sunflower, who I caught for essentially no reason because with Roserade out of the picture, absent the chat, Venusaur has absolutely zero competition for our team's primary grass type going into the Pokemon League. While I probably would have chosen Venusaur over Roserade anyways due to the fact that Venusaur has access to Mega Evolution as well as Earthquake, Roserade would have received heavy consideration due to the fact that he had access to Toxic Spikes and Aromatherapy. The potential was definitely there, but sadly that was not what Fate had in mind. Although it is what I had in mind to some extent because I kind of had a feeling that both Roserade and Skarmory weren't going to make it out of that battle once I had the intention to set up hazards because while the hazards I set up went a long way and helped me take down the Reggie trio as well as Regigigas, Regirock threw a huge wrench in my plans when he used Rock Polish to start off the battle to raise its speed and also using Stone Edge on the switch to Skarmory when I was predicting Earthquake. If it hadn't used Stone Edge, then I could have gotten a second layer of spikes or even Stealth Rocks up, but considering the fact that we still finished that battle without losing anyone else, I'll chalk that up as an absolute win, even if it didn't go as I predicted. That being said though, it is a shame that we lost both of them because they were hands down my best hazards users. While Nidoking does have Toxic Spikes, I hardly ever use it due to the sheer power, or should I say sheer force, Nidoking has. I also considered both Infernape and Garchomp for Stealth Rocks going into the Pokemon League, but it just doesn't make sense for Infernape now between the power of the Pokemon we'll be facing as well as her defenses not being the greatest. As for Garchomp, it's a bit of the same, even though she does have better defenses than Infernape, it just makes more sense to focus on her speed and power as opposed to a convoluted strategy. That and I remembered how little use Cynthia got out of it in her battle against Ash in the World Coronation series. Granted, the games aren't the anime, but it still stood out to me when I thought about it. Another thing that stood out to me too due to my crippling OCD is the fact that we accidentally killed that wild Polynard. While he probably wouldn't have made it to the final team, he would have received huge consideration for sure because there's nothing I love more than a good late game encounter. However, due to the fact that I accidentally knocked him out, it's going to bug me forever because it's the only encounter that we missed during the whole run. It definitely brought back memories of my first ever randomizer Nuzlocke in Pokemon Yellow when my starter Raichu knocked out several encounters. Although back then I kind of just chalked it up to Queen Raichu not wanting to let any weaklings in her ranks, one of the encounters that she KO'd was a Blastoise, which would have been super OP in Generation 1. And while I did finally get to raise a Blastoise later on in my Leaf Green randomizer Nuzlocke, it didn't really amount to much between the fact that it had a bad nature and the fact that the TMs that the randomizer was giving me were, how you say, not very good. Although it wasn't that huge of a loss because I did manage to capture a Marshtomp in that same run who went on to wreak havoc in the championship battle when it knocked out a Deoxys and a Steelix to finish things off. Hands down one of my favorite Nuzlocke teams today and my only deathless league up to this point in my Nuzlocke journeys. I'm hoping that I can accomplish the same feat with Gaia, but only time will tell. Although I definitely wouldn't count on it, and not just because we're going to be taking on 5 trainers with Mega Pokemon in a row, but because the battle with Red and my Fire Gold Nuzlocke changed me. In all my previous Nuzlockes before that, not counting Crystal, who fell by way of the Let's Play curse, I'd played every battle right up to the very end with conservation in mind. However, when I battled with Red, I was so mentally exhausted by that point that I didn't care whether or not I won the battle, I just wanted the run to end, and I wound up with quite arguably one of the most amazing battles I've ever had in my life. While I still do play the early and mid game with heavy conservation in mind, the battle with Red taught me that I can't go all out if I don't ease up, and I couldn't be more excited to be at the part of the run where I can just let loose and battle to my heart's content. And if you'd like to see that epic final battle again, do be sure to let me know in the comments below. While the rest of the footage from that run had to be deleted so I could have enough space on my phone for the next Nuzlocke, I made sure to save the battle with Red because it was such a pivotal point in my life. Not just in my journey as a content creator, but also in my journey as a Pokemon trainer as well. I was 6 years old when I first started playing Pokemon, and the fact that 25 years later I got to experience a battle that called upon all of my experience up to that point while also reminding me of my first ever battle is something I won't ever forget for as long as I live. That, and I'd love to upload it for anyone who's new to this little community that we're growing here on the channel. My Instagram is currently deactivated, which would make here on YouTube the only way to see it. That being said, I was actually thinking about making a video going over why I'm ghosting on Instagram right now. I'm not going to get into it in this video, but if you'd like to hear me talk about it, then do be sure to let me know in the comment section below. I'm still 50-50 on whether or not I want to discuss the topic in a video, but if enough of you are curious, then I'd love to go over the reasons why in detail. Especially because I'll take any opportunity to create a Nuzlocke video because it gives me the chance to improve my video making skills. Whether it's in a Nuzlocke, in the gym, or creating content, self-improvement is a chase that I won't ever stop running. That being said, let's talk for a moment about this cool trainer right here. At first he came off very unassuming due to the fact that he was coming at me with the Raticate of all Pokemon, but I made a very crucial mistake when he sends out this Muck. Realistically speaking, I should have switched over to Scizor due to the fact that Steel has the immunity against poison, but due to the fact that I wanted Ronnie Conkeldurr to get the experience points, we instead experience a very unfortunate death at the hands of a random gunk shot, which officially makes this random NPC the only non-boss battle NPC to KO one of my Pokemon during the whole run. Whether it was killing our final encounter or losing a Pokemon to the final non-boss NPC, perfection was shattered so hard today that I can hear Cell screams all the way from HFIL. Shout out to everybody that caught that Dragon Ball reference. That being said, it's time for the final rival battle, so cue the OST. So we start off the battle the same as always, taking a quick fake out from his Hariyama, so I decided not to use Mega Evolution here because I figured it would be better to save before Venusaur, but due to the fact that Altaria is using Moonblast without the stab it gets from Mega Evolution, we are unable to knock it out. However, we are able to force a full restore, so it's not all bad. Anyways, we hit another Moonblast, and he makes a very good decision to switch from Hariyama into Gigalith, so we switch in Luminion, who sadly gets instantly taken out by this freak of a crit from Stone Edge, as in the chat for our boy Phineas. After a bit of deliberation, I decided it was Cynthia's turn to destroy his dreams, so we take it down with one quick Earthquake. However, right after that, he decides to send out his Altaria, so I switch over to Scizor so I don't take the risk of getting hit with the Moonblast boosted by both Mega and Stab. And Scizor takes little damage upon coming in thanks to its resistances, and all it takes from there is a quick Iron Head to knock it down to one hit range, followed up by a Swift Bullet Punch. However, from there, it's out of the frying pan and literally into the fire when he sends out his Rotom Heat, so we make the decision to switch back into Cynthia after a moment of thought. And while we do end up taking an overheat upon switching in, it doesn't do much damage due to the fact that Ground and Dragon both resist fire. From there, all it takes is spamming Crunch a couple times to knock out this microwave oven-shaped demon, and just like that, we officially claim vengeance for Durana. After that, he sends his Hariyama back in, and while we do have to take a fresh fake out, we're able to knock it out the next turn with an Earthquake, which brings us to Leafeon. After which I send out Scizor back in so she can finish the job, and we're able to get as safe a switch as you can get due to the fact that it uses Sword Stance. Due to the fact that it kept using Sword Stance, all it takes from there to knock it out is an X Scizor followed up by Swift Bullet Punch, and just like that, all he has left is Empoleon. And from there we make our final switch of the battle, which is none other than our boy Soar. And obviously we Mega Evolve him right away, and we also hit a Leech Seed because chip damage is my favorite kind of damage to deal. And while Empoleon does manage to deal a decent amount of damage with Flash Cannon, it was all for naught because all Venusaur has to do from there is spam Earthquake like it's Generation 1, and just like that we've officially defeated our rival for the final time. I can't even pretend that I'm not annoyed that he killed 2 of our Pokemon during the run, but that being said, we've officially made it to the Pokemon League, and damn does it feel good to say that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new and want to see me take on the league, and don't forget to leave a like if you're excited to take on the league with me. That being said, that's all I got for you today, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one because it is officially Pokemon League time. Anyways, I'll see you then. This is Pixelated Pat, signing off.